Hi everyone, my name is Sky and welcome to the channel. Although this is my first video, I wanted to introduce myself as quickly as possible so we can get into the main conversation for today. My real name isn't actually Sky, but for the sake of privacy, it's what I'll be going as online. For starters, this is not my first rodeo with content creation, and in fact, I've done a lot of content creation in the past and still have another active channel to this day where I upload edited gaming content. Though I don't want these channels to associate for the sole purpose of seeing how long it takes my friends to find this one. This channel will instead be primarily focused on video essays dissecting and reviewing popular media. So yes, I'm another one of those cartoon critics. You can clap now. But in all seriousness, I want to preface this by saying I'm aware that in recent times a lot of video essay YouTube channels have been popping up that are completely AI generated. So I thought it would be important to give a personal introduction so people didn't immediately get the reasonable suspicion that I was one of those cases, given that I already had a decent idea on how to create content. With my tangent out of the way though, today's topic will most likely be one you're familiar with, especially if you clicked on this video. SuperMarioLogan, now known as simply SML. If you aren't aware of what SML is, let me give a brief overview. SML is a YouTube channel which was created by Logan 30acre and his brother Lance 30acre, where they primarily made stories involving Nintendo plushies and puppets, which quickly garnered widespread attention and fanfare, with many people citing its compelling stories despite older episodes having a smaller budget. But taking into account that it was just a few kids with puppets, it becomes much more impressive that they were able to cultivate such a strong fan base. The channel seemed to be constantly growing, with Logan now having a large cast of actors and employees working on the SML crew to help release content, following a schedule which is honestly incredibly impressive. Though their glory years came to a halt after an infamous cease and desist with Nintendo caused the channel to be overhauled with a complete rebrand of not only the branding itself, such as the logo and name, but the core cast as well, being redesigned into completely original characters in the form of puppets. This shift is often cited as the main turning point when it came to defining when SML saw a sharp decline in overall quality, with many fans separating videos into the category of plushie or puppet era. While new SML is often regarded as slop content, with that not being false in the slightest, that doesn't mean the crew doesn't manage to release a video which feels high quality and genuinely entertaining from time to time. Something that brings you back to the old days of the show. So imagine my surprise when a new SML episode released and it immediately was regarded as an incredibly good and overall enjoyable episode. Many people even stating it was the best they had seen in 2025. So I wanted to take a deep dive into SML Misery to see if it really lives up to the hype I've been seeing online. Warning, past here there are many spoilers for the movie and novel Misery, as well as SML Misery itself. You have been warned. The episode starts with Poopy, the voice actor of two of the most popular characters on the channel, Brooklyn Guy and Cody, driving in his car. He ends up swerving around an armadillo in the road, ending in a car crash, which he is rescued from by a woman in a nearby house. This woman ends up calling herself his #1 fan, with the main plot of the episode being a parody of the Stephen King novel and eventual film adaptation Misery, with the woman holding Poopy hostage making excuses to deter him from trying to leave, eventually refusing him to altogether. While most of the time it seems SML uses a lot of parody-styled videos to fill their strict schedule when they have no original ideas, leading them often to feel lackluster, SML Misery takes an already interesting plot and really makes it into a funny short experience. Padding out the runtime to a full 20 minutes also seemed to work in its favor, as it allows it to have a lot more fun scenes without feeling rushed. I think where this episode shined through was the decision to break the fourth wall and have the main character be one of the voice actors instead of one of the puppets, and Poopy was 100% the perfect choice for this role. His energy simply fits perfectly with the style of comedy this episode uses. Elena did a really good job with the deranged fan too. While I have less to say about her performance, it doesn't take away from it at all in my opinion. I really have no negatives, it was all around incredibly solid. This episode is definitely a prime example that the crew has a genuine knack for acting even outside of the normal puppet medium. I think one thing that really shows this is another reason why this video stood out to people so much, which was the style of humor, being very visual most of the time. While visual gags aren't completely uncommon in SML, it's definitely apparent that a lot of the humor anymore comes from simply saying vulgar or random things, which happens to get stale pretty quickly. This episode though takes full advantage of having fully human actors, and allows for a lot of humor purely in the visual gags, whether it be the uncomfortable or confused faces or Poopy struggling to move around in a wheelchair. Speaking of which, the scene where Poopy is sneaking around the house and has to make it back to the room before the fan comes back inside is incredibly funny. Not due to it having any dialogue, but purely for the visual humor of the genuine struggle to do something that otherwise be so simple. It's hard to put it into words, so I simply suggest you watch the video for yourself after this one finishes. While the visual humor wasn't shining through, the humor in the dialogue was still better than we see in most modern SML episodes, being more grounded and plot relevant, such as purposefully referencing Brooklyn Guy and Cody's most popular and overused lines and traits, which I enjoy, though I like the fact that they're calling attention to the tropes and patterns they've fallen into, especially with one of the ongoing jokes of the episode being the fact that Cody's whole personality is that he's gay. It makes me more annoyed that they don't try and negate some of the overall flanderization and sloppy writing of the newer episodes, since they are obviously aware of it as seen in this video. Still, the different bits across the video fit really well together and stand out as funny moments in their own regard. I like the fact that Poopy carries around a folder full of future episode ideas and that it's plot relevant that the ideas themselves are shit. It's self-deprecating, but sadly the SML channel knows it's true as well as we do. So you can't talk about an episode without talking about the ending, which was, well, I mean, it was alright. There wasn't really anything that showed us what the eventual aftermath was after Poopy escaping, though the resolution itself which helped Poopy escape was honestly unexpected. I fully believed SML would just go the easy route and have Simmons save Poopy after finding him, but surprisingly no. Simmons fucking dies, and it's then up to Poopy to finish her off himself, which he does by tricking her into putting her head down and then dropping a typewriter on her head. Ouch. It was a nice subversion of expectation and feels like it had more thought put into it than trying to be a normal reset. Though after Poopy knocks the fan out, we only get one scene of Brooklyn Guy coming back to the episode with Poopy still hurting. That's pretty much it. Also, they burned a Cody puppet in the video, which they said was the original. And while I doubt it, I think it would be low-key cool if he genuinely did switch puppets for the next video he's in. Cool little bit of continuity. Though at the same time, I really hope they didn't burn the only good puppet, though I don't want to only talk about the positives of this episode, because there are some things that I feel like could have been done a lot better, primarily in the puppet sections themselves. Jeffy is just such a soul-draining character anymore that any scene which he happens to be plot relevant in ends up being a drag to get through, and it doesn't help that the puppet segments are purely there to rush the plot along and give context to the eventual ending, so why did we even need Jeffy? The main issue that I had with the episode though was definitely the fact it didn't really feel like SML. Being that it is a parody, it makes sense that the structure and plot would naturally be different from what is usually done in SML. But in general, something about the episode just feels out of place among the others. The live action acting for most of it definitely plays some sort of role, as the jokes and plot have to stay mostly, if not completely, in the realms of reality compared to when an episode is focused around the puppets. While the episode isn't laugh out loud funny, it is 100% one I found myself smiling at for most of the runtime. It is an incredibly solid watch. There were no scenes which I felt like were filler, and it's paced well enough where I never felt bored or bombarded, which was a nice change of pace from another show I'm watching for a video. I could definitely see why people are saying this is their favorite SML video of the year, and while I don't necessarily agree, I don't disagree either. I feel like for me, Jeffy's 21st birthday and SML Misery are both good in completely their own regard, and comparing them would be like comparing apples to unimaginable space creatures. Overall, the hype felt incredibly deserved. SML created something unironically good and people were enjoying it. Let's hope they can at least pop out a few more bangers during the spooky season. So that marks the end of my first lecture. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It would mean a lot. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.